Hello, and welcome back to another sequence video field notes. Trying to really get in the habit of making this a regular thing, having some sort of structure and process behind it. Today we're going to talk about the experience of making the titles featurette in sequence. This was a really interesting project in terms of timeline complexity. Aside from multicam stuff we attempted to do before, this might be the most complex timeline we've ever done. I think it turned out really beautiful. The footage looks great, both the optimized media in the editor and the exports. From a narrative perspective, I think that this is like a really interesting way to introduce a feature, do these little featurette vlogs that kind of, like showcase the team a little bit and showcase Long Beach a little bit, develop some personality for our characters on the cast and crew of sequence. Like I think we've got a good Adam character that's forming. And then I also really enjoyed just doing a little bit of show and tell about how we use sequence. I think maybe this was a little rambling and not flashy enough, but I think that if we do more of these, it'll be really good for people to just kind of see what we do. And then, we also did a really good job, I think, at kind of tracking the iterations of this, despite it being a very short time frame once we actually started working on it. I think that we did a good job at tracking the iterations through screenings, and I expect that to get better as screenings are a bigger part of workspaces. But, those are the good things. This was a good video that we were able to make. The experience of making it was not as good. It was bad. It was a bad experience, okay? I mean, it started off good. I was really impressed with the quality of things, really impressed with the performance, but just as the timeline grew in complexity, I really could not do 4K anymore despite being on 10 cores. Had so many problems with alpha elements. I'm sure I'll talk about a lot throughout this. Just working with the timeline picker and the libraries. Okay, so I'll get into these, but summary of experience. Painful. Okay. Despite it being painful, I am very grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful that we have a chance to put this into really, really difficult testing situations, really very, very real testing situations before it goes out to other people. And I'm really grateful to the team for being so responsive about addressing a lot of these issues. I'm trying to be judicious about what I immediately put into the triage queue versus what I just keep in the notes until the end of a project. But I know you're all very busy with a lot of difficult projects here at Sequence, and then you're suddenly getting a flood of notifications about things that are I cannot edit a video until this is fixed. And I really appreciate you all being so responsive about dealing with those. I think it's going to go a long way when we have to start dealing with that with real users who are dealing with mission critical projects. So one process that I really liked here is this sort of iterative whittling down of footage using this kind of string out to selects to sequences reel. A lot of time in a nonlinear editor, you're kind of looking through clips here in the library and sort of adding notes to the items in the library or marking ranges here in the library for you to add to the timeline. Except I think that that's really difficult in a collaborative environment because then other people have to search through everything in the project in order to just sort of see what's available. A string out is literally, dumping all of the footage that you have for a given video into a timeline. So here is the string out timeline for the featurette video. You can see I have some B-roll that we shot at Brian's house a couple days ago. These clips of me preparing to meet Adam. And then going to meet Adam. And then what's great about putting them all in the timeline here is we don't have the ability to apply properties or effects to library media yet. So in the timeline, I can go ahead and apply my Sony grade. And unfortunately, when you copy and paste these right now, we don't actually persist any of the properties. So that doesn't work well. I also tried this fun technique of if you're putting in a string out of stuff with footage from a lot of different sources or different days, it's hard to tell apart. So I thought it was nice to just use titles as these sort of literal annotations above the clips. That would be sort of the first level of collaborating with people on a project, is you dump all the footage into the project and then just put the entire set of clips into a string out where anybody can watch it back. You can do some light coloring. From there, you could duplicate the timeline and make a selects string out. And so basically this is just like all the bad bits cut out of the selects timeline, letting you have some bite-sized chunks that you can essentially work with. Now you can go ahead and create a sequence and then just kind of like copy things from the selects timeline. If you feel like you missed something, you can go back to the string out. And then this is like a shared canvas that everybody can see, everybody can leave comments on. So I think this is something we should definitely do a little bit more of. On the subject of string outs and selects, something else that I really enjoyed was, like, I've been setting up other projects that are just kind of like holding projects for different types of footage. And there's this one project that's like the Long Beach crew video diary, and it had a bunch of clips from when we were co-working in Long Beach a couple weeks ago. And those were literally just string outs of fun clips in these timelines. And so I was like, oh, that can be a B-roll source for this video. And I went to the Long Beach crew video diary and I just exported like these 3 timelines. And then like, yeah, you can see I've just got like literally like an 11-minute string out of footage. And so from here I could just kind of like set an I and an O point and bring that into the timeline for editing. If we elaborate on this idea and make kind of like timelines like sources that you can use across projects, it gets insanely powerful. And I'll talk about a feature request towards the end that I think would like really make that more exciting as well. Let's talk about the key challenges because, well, there were many. A lot of the challenges that were critical, you know, not being able to duplicate a timeline because it like got all fucked up when it was duplicated, for literally lack of a better word. Not being able to export. Brian and Adam have been hard at work on those, so thank you. But I've got 4 key challenges that like really kept coming up for me. The first was that I was experiencing so many preview stream disconnections. Like, I have not been getting these a lot lately, but for some reason on this project, while I was like here wired into my Ethernet, got a lot of them. In some cases it seemed like it had something to do with like the high resolution ProRes 4444 alpha clips I was using. Like if I added one of those to a timeline, I would get a disconnection. Sometimes if I added like a new 4K clip, I got a disconnection. I really don't know what it was, but it just sucked because it was like every time I like waited for the page to reload and then I like just barely started getting into an editing flow, I hit it again. And it was really fucking frustrating because you know when you hit it that it's going to be like at least another 60 seconds before you see your timeline again. Fortunately, we have somehow not had it happen in here while I've been recording, so that's good. Item number 2, library. Pain. Pain, 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 pain. Fucking painful. There were some like small, well, not small. There were some significant regressions in the library throughout the course of editing this, which got fixed. But in general, it's just like really not good. In fact, I made a note here somewhere in this, but it's on my written notes that I would estimate that I spend about 20% of my time in sequence organizing stuff in the library. That's bad. That is really, really bad. A lot of this is due to the fact that I can only do things on one asset at a time. A lot of them are due to just like weird, inconsistent interactions. And of course, as soon as I'm showing this, everything works fine. There's also this sort of thing where it takes a long time for an update to actually propagate, and I have to just kind of like, sit and wait for it to happen. Yeah, 20% of my time on like an 8 to 12 hour editing project, just moving assets the fuck around in the library, and it's bad. Same thing with the timeline picker. I tried to make some visual improvements to like help with the idea of things that are scrolled out of view, but just not being able to reorder these really sucks. Like I would love to kind of like figure out how we can treat folders as a more kind of like cohesive group of things, because like this sucks that if I am trying to drag something into this folder, I can't just drop it here. I have to like somehow scroll up and then make sure I hit this like very, very specific small touch area. Fuck, there's also this thing where if you accidentally drag between panels, stuff just gets lost. And item number 3, trimming. Again, left side trimming interactions are like I have some choice fucking words. Oh, we just got a disconnection and I accidentally clicked out of it, but okay. So I guess I'll refresh and wait. I bet Ingrid Bergman didn't have to worry about waiting when she was cutting films on a moviola, did she? Or she didn't have to worry about a multiplayer service being down. Okay, so pain point number 3, trimming. Yeah, I've talked about left side trimming before. Really bad to not have this be right. A couple of examples. I'm pretty sure that the dialogue here of Adam talking,
I'll give you a brief demo.
But I'm pretty sure that this video of him talking is actually out of sync when I watched it in the final video. And I think that that's, because we had this very normal situation where audio is detached because I wanted to make a J cut here. And then at some point we had to like trim something back. Instead of maintaining the sync between all of the elements, weird shit happens and it gets out of sync. Like when you are trimming something from the right hand side, it's like you're like grabbing onto something and everything from behind that like follows with it, right? I just want the same experience here, but instead it's like this weird fucking slipping and sliding thing, and there's nothing for your eye to latch onto to understand what this trim is actually doing. I think that this issue also kind of came down to like more advanced trimming operations, because there are certain things that the reflow timeline is really bad for. For example, I really have been craving like rolling trim edits and like slip and slide tools. Good example here would be Luke made a comment around here on the timeline that this like Long Beach, California graphic held for maybe a beat too long compared to this titles and sequence graphic. So like, let's say we wanted to trim that down to like this beat right here. Well, you have to not only trim down to that beat on the outgoing clip, but you have to compensate for the new time on the incoming clip. So that would mean that you kind of like trim down to here and then somehow like extend this out to the left. But because of our left side trimming interactions, this is very confusing. But let's say I just want to like line it up at the end there. And then you gotta like move all these clips around to compensate for how you fuck them up and stuff like that. Not great. This is exactly what like rolling edit tools are good for in a track-based timeline. can see I've got these 2 clips here. And if I want to maintain the exact duration that they take up together here on the timeline, but I want to change the edit point, I can just come over here to the rolling tool, or you can also enter like a temporary mode by holding Command. And then when I do that, I can just change the time between them, but not anything else. Like this would be really, really great to have, because the reflow timeline moves everything out of the way. These sorts of tools that allow you to change the video without changing everything on the timeline, I think are really, really important to make people comfortable and confident with our tool. Yeah, 4th challenge, this is like a bucket thing of just like compositing and ProRes 4444 with alpha. A lot of problems in this project were caused by issues with ProRes 4444 media. And that's certainly something that we need to deal with, like making sure that we handle all media correctly. But a lot of the reasons why I have to use those clips to begin with is because there is no other option for compositing things in sequence. There's no way to crop videos. There's no way to green screen videos. There's no way to change the blending modes of videos. So if you want to do something as simple as put our logo onto a video, the only thing that you can do is make this like super dense, complicated, high bitrate video that we really struggle to maintain in sequence. And it goes even farther than that to being I have no idea when a ProRes 4444 video is going to successfully upload. Basically, like if I want to use them in a project, I have to upload like 30 to 40 to sequence at once, and then maybe 11 of them here will end up actually working and not crashing the timeline and showing as supported. What the fuck is that? So yeah, this is like a multi-pronged thing of like our file support for ProRes 4444 is really inconsistent, and it sounds like it caused some of like the exporting or duplicate issues that we had earlier. But at the same time, like I need a way to put video footage on top of other video footage. This is a core capability of video editing. And if we're not going to be able to support ProRes 4444 as we should, then we need to enable other options for compositing. Like I'm really serious about this. Okay. Okay. I feel like I got that out of my system now. Small requests and improvements, like slip and slide tools would be really good for just like changing the edit points within here. Icons for timelines, I keep thinking about this a lot, but like this is a really, really good way to get a visual overview of what's happening in your project. I think we could do something really cool where it's like the default icon is the like timeline aspect ratio container, but maybe if you like click on this, you can give it a custom icon, kind of like an Arc browser tab. Let me switch over to 2 things about color grading these string outs. Like I love being able to just like get a glance of the color up here, but I had 2 major issues. The first is that I have to just fucking click on every clip, and maybe I'm turning into Atom or something, but I don't want to click on every clip and then have my mouse go all the way to the other side to go do something. So yeah, we talked the other week about using WASD for kind of like, oh, connecting. It's going to crash again. I mean, disconnect. Wait for it. Hey, cool. Well, I guess while that's reloading, we talked the other week about like this could be kind of cool of using WASD on the keyboard for clip navigation in the timeline. I'm thinking you could like select the adjacent clip above, below, left, and right, and then also move the playhead if we're going left and right to the beginning, to like the first frame of that clip. I think that would be just like so fucking cool to be able to navigate a timeline like that. But at the same time, it's like I have to click on every single one of these. And if I'm doing like a pass on color, we can't multi-select all of the clips and turn on color yet. So what I was wondering is like, is there a good reason why this is off to begin with? Because the default state is that we just have nothing here in the convert and creative look. So like I was wondering if instead of just like having this off on every clip and making it so that like the current experience is I have to click on every single one of these, and on every single one of these turn this on and then choose a LUT. That's a lot. Could we maybe just like have it on by default, and all I have to do is choose a LUT, and then if I want to turn it off for some reason, I can. Anyways, just a thought. One final thing. This one's like a bit more of like a big sky idea, but you know, just kind of like riffing on this concept of like really driving the way we narrow down footage by these like string outs and select reels. It is a bit of a pain right now that it's like you create a select reel, all your footage is here, and then you have to like copy a clip, go load up another timeline, and then paste it in while this is like loading. One of a lot of people's favorite way of editing in Premiere. This was an idea created by Vashi Nedomansky when he was editing the first Deadpool project, but he calls it pancake timeline editing. I've already got it open here. Which is basically like these panels can be unmounted, and in Premiere, you know, you can take one timeline that's kind of like your primary working timeline, and then you can take another timeline that's like your selects timeline, and basically just like watch the video back in one of these, and then when you find something you like, you literally just drag it into drag it into another timeline. You can also use like keyboard driven things to move between them, but like this is really, really cool. It's really ugly in here, but I think that like, I don't know, if we do a better job at like treating timelines as a source that you can pool things between from different timelines, like I could imagine, I don't know, somehow like taking one of these timelines, loading it up in the preview with like a film strip view that has kind of like a mini timeline. You can just like drag clips from one to another. That would be sick. Okay, yeah, this one is probably going to be a very, very long field note. I really appreciate you watching. I really appreciate all the work you're doing to try to improve these things as I'm editing videos. I'm really, really impressed with what we're able to do in sequence right now. And I would really love your feedback on any of the things discussed in this video. Thank you.